What other books?
Yeah. Okay. So Hannah Arendt, she is a philosopher that not a lot of people know about, but she was a Jewish woman during the Holocaust, and she was interred at Bergen-Belsen, which was basically Auschwitz for women, and she escaped. She came to the United States, and she had worked with Heidegger, even though he's supposed to be anti-Semitic and a Nazi and everything, but they were lovers, okay? So she comes out, and she's at Columbia University, and she teaches philosophy there. And she writes two books, which I'll recommend. One is called Eichmann in Jerusalem, where she attends the Nuremberg trials. And she basically makes this really astute observation about evil. And she says, Eichmann is one of the people who sent the Jews to the concentration camps, who ran the trains, okay? And she said, the thing about Eichmann was that he didn't seem particularly evil. Actually, he seemed to be quite a nice guy. She said what was interesting about him was he seemed incredibly thoughtless and stupid. And she said, and he used a lot of stereotypes like memes. So she actually wrote about memes before we had them. And now people just use memes, and they're actually used against us even. There's even segments of warfare called mimetic warfare. All right. So memes are something that can sway a whole population of people. So she wrote about memes before they were even in existence. And that's Eichmann in Jerusalem. And I think she also has some really amazing things to say about evil, is that when people remain thoughtless, she has another book called The Life of the Mind, which is gigantic. And I don't think anybody will read it. But frankly, it's one of the best books I've ever read. And I've read it many times. And basically, in The Life of the Mind, she asks a very simple question. She says, why do people do bad things? Why are they evil? And what she says is she wonders if she says that bad people sleep well at night, contrary to, you know how the saying, how do you sleep at night? Well, that's only because you're a good person that you're asking that question, because you actually have a conscience. And a conscience is this dual kind of, you fight with yourself about the consequences of your actions. And she says, bad people don't seem to have a conscience. So they actually sleep well at night. And so she goes through a whole history of philosophy about evil, and that's really a good one too. But I also have to recommend this one too. There's one more. Mm-hmm. So I know I recommended two, but just from the same philosopher. My friend Jeffrey Kripal, he's at Rice University, and he's in my field, religious studies. He's written several books. I mean, he's written a heck of a lot of books. Let's put it that way. But I think his best book, or the one that impacted me the most, is called Authors of the Impossible. And his writing is very much like Nietzsche's writing, in the sense that it's almost as if he reaches out of the pages and he grabs you and he kind of slaps you around and says, think about this, and you can't help but be changed after you've read it. And he's got a great chapter in there about Jacques Vallée.
Oh, so he covers a bunch of different thinkers and authors that are out, that somehow are, what is it, renegade in some aspect, or revolutionary in some aspect.
Yeah, they're thinking the impossible. Right. There's a great one he's written called Mutants and Mystics, where he talks about the comic strips. Why can't I remember the name of the person? He just died, Stan Lee. He talks about the history of the comics by Stan Lee, and they're all paranormal. They all start off super paranormal, and it's fascinating.
On the topic of Hannah Arendt.
Hannah Arendt. Mm-hmm.
Hannah Arendt. So I haven't read her work, but I've vaguely touched upon sort of like commentary of her work, and it seems like some people think her work is dangerous in some aspect. I don't know if you can comment on why that is. It feels like similar with Ayn Rand or something like that.
Yeah.
Where like this is, I should say not dangerous, but controversial.
Yes, it is. Yeah, they think it's controversial. This is the reason, I believe. I've heard of the controversy. The controversy is that first of all, she is Jewish, and she did escape a concentration camp, and yet she's been called anti-Jewish. And I think part of that was that she basically was saying something that I believe, that a lot of normal people are like Eichmann, and evil things are done by people who just follow the rules and they don't think about what they're doing. And that's one of the most pernicious forms of evil of our time.